Braid me into lineages of truth tellers and freedom seekers, gentle healers and wise teachers. Braid me into genealogies of the most ordinary magic, the everyday orientation toward community and care. Braid me into the long, slow labors of love, ancient and fraught and alive. Generations of dreamers imagining the world anew.
Let's go ahead and rise, body or spirit. Let's sing. Online people, sing however you feel comfortable in wherever you are. So welcome to the Unitarian Church. My name is Nathan. I'm one of your ministers. I'm so pleased to welcome you today. Actually, can I say something about that? I am so bad at remembering to tell people to sit down at weddings. I actually have a note in my script. Do you have this? No. I'll go through 2 or 3 paragraphs with a whole congregation standing, waiting for me to tell them to sit down. So behind the scenes, if you see a preemptive sit down from me, it's because I'm remembering then and I'm very proud of myself. Anyway, I'm Nathan. I'm one of your ministers. I am so pleased to welcome you today. There are some things going on I would like for you to know about. Online people, we're glad you're with us. Here's what you should know. Well, there's lots you should know. Here are the things that I can tell you that are relevant to announcements you should know. There is on June 8th a men's and people who identify in some way as male retreat that is going to be at the Hilltop Arboretum. If you would like to go, talk to me or Reverend Chris. You can show up too, but you may not have food and we may not know you're coming. But if you would like to come, that would be great. There's going to be fishing and fauna gazing and other such things. Also, if you bought something in the auction, but you don't yet own it because it's a thing, there's a good chance it's in the office, sitting there waiting for you to take it. Items include things that we may mistake as things that should be thrown away, and things that may actually get moldy if they stay there much longer. So if you want a thing, or even if you didn't, go in there and look and see if your name's on there, because then that thing is yours. During middle hour today is our social justice team meeting. And so wanted you to know about that. And then next week, in room 7. So go that way, and then that way, and then that way. Just keep going this way and don't let walls deter you until you run out of church building. Next week, our own chair of our worship guild, Leslie Grover, is preaching. And then in 2 weeks, where is she? Our own Kathy Smith is preaching. She's back from sabbatical, and so she's... And we're going to do a whole month of Pride. So that's going to launch our Pride Month. I don't know if you're preaching on it, but surprise, that's our month. Also, we have a special guest minister today. This is the Reverend Sarah Dundee Green. They're a community minister based out of New Orleans and is affiliated with us because every community minister has to have a congregational affiliation. And so we have her preach from time to time, and it's been too long, and I'm glad you're back. It's good for all of us to be together. So let's start today, actually, if you would join me in a moment of prayer and reflection. The God that we know when we see love and hope and justice and kindness, whatever that mystery is that holds us together, be with us on this day. And hold all of us with grateful spirits. All of us who long for a better world. All of us who wish for healing. Hold all of us who feel the world is slipping. Hold all of those who worry about the state of peaceful assembly in this country. In particular, hold the people of Texas right now, as their governor has pardoned someone who was convicted of murder because he shot a protester. Help us to always keep our eyes towards the more ideal world. Help us to know that love is our path, and help us to know that we are also wounded people. May today be a day that brings about more love, more hope. May we be beacons of peace. Amen. This ritual we have is open to everybody, visitor and member alike. We invite those to wish to come forward either along the west or the east wall. Take a stone, let it represent whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind, and place it in the chalice bowl. Chat people, just type it, online people, just type it right into the chat. We invite those who wish now to come forward as we place stones. And we say together, with hope to make this a better world, we light this flame. Its light is the symbol of the power of love.
Good morning, everybody. It is so great to be here. I didn't really know how much I missed you all until I walked into the building and started seeing people come in and all of the new and small and large ways that you all have been becoming alongside me, although far apart. So it's great to be together again. Since we were last together, I have heard this quote that has been ringing in my head for months. I cannot get it out. I think it was maybe started by some Greek philosopher. I'm not the best with those names, but it's often championed by the US Navy, an interesting place for inspiration for me particularly. The quote is this: "Under pressure, we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training." I know, I'm going to read that again so that it can be your earworm now. Under pressure, we do not rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. I've trained for many things in my life. I know that training involves getting to know the rules. It involves being mentored, understanding the mechanics and the anatomy of something, a system, a body, developing an identity around the thing. And it usually involves some sort of muscle memory. Once upon a time, I trained for a triathlon. I don't do a lot of things that are casual. Call it a character flaw, if you will. But it gets me into very fun places, and one of those was a triathlon. Of course, I was somewhat active, but I learned a lot of things in training. I learned that training for running doesn't always translate to training for swimming. That doesn't always translate to biking. I've learned it doesn't always translate to hiking. Things tend to be very specific because of that muscle memory. I needed to learn about the infrastructure or the anatomy of a triathlon race. I needed to learn the route. I needed to learn on the biking portion, was it going to be hilly or flat? And for the swimming portion, I needed to learn how to navigate open water. And then I needed to think of myself as a triathlete. I needed to follow some accounts on Instagram. I needed to get my gear, get in the Facebook groups, and really think of myself as someone who was going to do a triathlon. If I didn't, I was going to be in deep trouble, a little lost, a little discombobulated about where I was. Think about the last big thing you trained for. Take a moment to recall that experience and just let it rest in the forefront as we're talking today. What did it require of you? How did you celebrate your wins and grieve your losses? What was it like when the thing you were training for actually happened? When it was time, when it was go time? Think about that. It's not a big secret that we are, to put it lightly, in a moment of pressure. This part is not new, and it's a little tiring to preach about it every week. So I've been working new angles. Perhaps you are like me and can't help but to hear the question, what have I been training for? Maybe you're asking yourself, what are the rules that I'm not only familiarizing ourselves with, but buying into? Who are we being mentored by in this moment under pressure? What kind of muscle memory are we building? Perhaps you're someone sitting this morning with us saying, you don't really like or agree with what you've been training for. Maybe we've been training to be obedient or complicit. Maybe we've been acculturated into the logic of and learning the rules of colonialism. And sometimes our muscle memory is carceral. The way we react without thinking is about punishment, about power over. Perhaps, like me, you can't help but understand this question of what we have been training for, or the quote, in this 3D physical space where we rise, we go up, and when we fall, we go closer to the ground. This understanding of the question draws on my muscle memory as a dancer and as a person of the global majority, as a person of color. Folks in the global South have movement and dances that are closer to the ground. This often enables them to cover more ground. You can spread wide, you can cover lots of space, you can move quicker, closer to the ground. And you can jump higher when the moment calls for it. Or perhaps you're someone who really likes the extremely aspirational nature of our values and covenants, that feels like we are held together as Unitarian Universalists by our wildest dreams, and that's where you like to live. Maybe in the shoulds. We should love each other. We should be transforming. We need you, even you. We need you for those long-term strategic plans, welcoming others into this community who can share our dreams. But right now, it's time to train. Okay, we're in the bathroom, putting on our training outfit. Maybe it's a little spandex piece, maybe it's a suit, a tuxedo, your best dress. Are you decent yet? We have probably had moments like these where we've had to decide, am I decent? Decent enough? Who's there? Are you decent yet? Can mean, are you buttoned up enough? Are you together enough? Are you performing enough? Are all of the human parts of you put away? But it can also mean integrity. Don't you have the decency to tell the truth? The decency not to lie to me in my face? It's so culturally specific. And yet, as people in training, we get to decide how decent we want to be, how decent we want to interact with the systems, the games, and all of the frameworks while we train. Up next, how we train.
And so we have come to that part of the service where I ask you to give very generously. Online people, you know you can give. There's like a bunch of ways. We have a whole website for it. But what we're doing the entire month of May is we are sharing with Youth Oasis. Look at us. The Diversity House Youth Oasis. This is an organization in Baton Rouge that is doing some amazing, amazing work. We have partnered with them for a while now, and I see us sharing this offering as a way to continue to deepen our relationship with them. That's all. Last night we were able to welcome the New Orleans Gay Men Chorus. Who knows, is our archivist here, how long they've been coming to this church? 20 years? Longer? All right, I hear a 30. Do I hear a 40? Anyway, our relationship, our presence in Baton Rouge is incredibly needed. So is Diversity House Youth Oasis. So I'll ask you to give very, very generously. Oh, no, I'm going to do it a different way. Reverend Sarah told me something. This morning, coming in, now this may or may not have happened, doesn't matter. This morning, coming in, while you were over on over the spillway, you called me and said, I heard this church doesn't give a lot of money.
Yes, I did say that.
You did? All right. And I said, no, that's not true.
And you said, I bet they're only going to give a piddly 3 figures today during the offering. And I said, not these people. And you said, a piddly 4 figures. I said, not these people. And so we agreed that between all of you, we would somehow collect 5 figures today. I don't know how that's going to happen. I know the 11:30 people are not going to do it, because let me tell you something about the 11:30 people. Well, the thing I'm going to tell you is I'm going to make up something about you also. I will. Okay. Enough of my foolishness. Please give very... just to clarify, you did not say... You may have said that in your head, but you did not call me to say that. All of this is just to say, please give joyfully, generously. Half of this is going straight to Youth Oasis. Will the ushers please come forward as this morning's offering is gratefully given and received.
Blessed are you who are raging. Blessed are you who are mourning. Blessed are you who feel numb. Blessed are you who feel sick and tired, and sick and tired. Blessed are you who refuse to turn away. Blessed are you who need to turn away. Blessed are you who keep breathing deep. Blessed are you who are tending to your own needs. Blessed are you who are tending to the needs of another. Blessed are you who have been calling. Blessed are you who have been organizing. Blessed are you who have been testifying. Blessed are you who have been hearing. Blessed are you who have been resisting. Blessed are you who feel broken open beyond repair. Blessed are you who are raw beyond words.
So we need to train for dissent. Our task in this season right now, I'm talking about like right now through October. So you should have a concrete training season in your brain, is to train for dissent. Is that season November? No, that is not the training season. The training season is now. So we need to be training for dissent, both to be the dissent and to meet the dissent. For me, training for dissent is a combination of two things, a posture and a practice. And I think the guiding thought, question for this training is, how often can we try on new ways to govern? I love church. I do. I can't stay away. Even as a young person, I was kind of like Jaden. When I see her, I think about myself, driving myself to church as a senior in high school. And I think part of what I loved about church is that it's the only place, one of the few places we get to practice governing together in accordance with some shared values. Just think about it. Where else, maybe if you're a parent in your home, but where else do you get to govern in accordance to your values, try some things on, pivot when things are not working? There are so many other places where we are required to be obedient or to follow the rules. In our training for dissent, new ways of governing is critical. There's an organizer in the Bay Area, Gopal, and he says, which is also sort of stuck and rung with me, if we're not prepared to govern, we're not prepared to win. If we're not prepared to govern, we're not prepared to win. And there's a lot about governance. This is not a sermon on governance, but it's something to ring in your heart and in your belly. But I want to just draw out two things of what I think is really critical about learning to govern with an attitude towards dissent, or preparation towards dissent. The first one is knowing when to stay at the table and knowing when to get up. You ever been in a meeting, you don't know quite how to interrupt, but you know that it needs to be interrupted? That's a muscle to build. But the second thing that I want to talk a little bit more about is about getting to know our blocking concerns. Some people, Unitarian Universalists in particular, love consensus. Y'all love consensus here? No. That's a no. Your face says no. That's okay. It's not a necessary governing practice, but it can be useful. But in UU churches and other places that use different versions of consensus, I have noticed one sticking point that is really hard to get right. So there's a proposal. You've discussed. Maybe you've done a straw poll, and it's time to vote. Sometimes that's like a thumbs up, to the side, or down. Now, a down is a blocking concern, meaning nothing moves forward until that blocking concern is addressed. I have seen this go sideways when people use these blocking concerns to get only their individual needs met. You've seen that. He's giving me a nod. This is supposed to be things that we, in our conscience and integrity, cannot put our names behind. And sometimes people use this when it's not their idea. Training for dissent means getting to know our blocking concerns. Training for dissent also means allowing for complex identities. One of the things I think we practice in buildings and in churches and communities like these are bringing more and more of ourselves to the table. That's training. How much of me can I be in this space? Both as posture and as a practice of naming myself over and over again. Here's the last thing I want to leave you with about training for dissent. I've learned this as a parent, and mostly it comes out of my work as a parent and conflict. I have learned that sometimes there's something that I need to say to Peyton. Sometimes there's things he needs to hear. And sometimes there is a large ocean in the middle. When I am practicing and training for dissent, it often involves finding ways to make that gap softer, a little less like a cement wall and more like a sponge, like a trampoline where we can bounce together and back. So just as a moment, think about something that you need to say to someone. Maybe you've been sitting on it for a while. Maybe you know it won't be received, quote, well. Take a moment to consider that, and then take a moment to consider what they might need to hear to feel loved, seen, heard, valued. Consider what they might need to hear to bring more of themselves to the table, to honor their needs that aren't getting met. And just as an exercise in training, think about one thing you can do, say, a posture you can try on to chip away at that cement wall, to make it a little softer. I have been down the river at the Methodist Church hanging out with the young adult group, and we are working our way through the 12 steps of recovery. Not in relationship to a substance, but in relationship to these systems of oppression that contort us. It's been the most powerful thing I've done in a very, very long time. But step number 5, which is the step that we're on now, is about sharing with ourselves and another person and God when we have failed, when we have not lived up to who we say we are, when we have not been in our integrity. And this image of the cement wall between myself and another has come up. My conversation partner in that group came up with this idea that in this cement wall, perhaps it's like rushing water, smoothing something into a smooth stone. I think of training for Dissent like smoothing a stone. Not to remove the stone, not to make the stone invisible or pretend that the stone doesn't exist, but to smooth the stone so that perhaps sometimes we can glide over it. Sometimes we can take a seat and rest. Sometimes we can build things around it so that the descent is honoring of us, of what we need to meet at a moment after moment. But unfortunately, friends, we have other things to train for as well.
Right where you're seated, let's do this next hymn.
A little ladder climbing. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder.
Blessed are you who are working hotlines and crisis care centers and bearing witness to the forces of violence and trauma unleashed and unloosed. Blessed are you who are marching. Blessed are you who are weeping. Blessed are you who preach and know that divinity resides in despised, abused, and violated flesh. Blessed are you who know deep in your bones that you are good and beautiful and beloved and sacred and worthy, and believed and held and capable of healing beyond your wildest imagination. Blessed are you who remind others they are good and beautiful and beloved and sacred and worthy and believed and held and capable of healing beyond their wildest imagination. Blessed are we when we dare to dream of a world without sexual violence, without white supremacy, without misogyny, without police brutality, without anti-trans and anti-queer violence. Blessed are we when we stay tender. Blessed are we when we stay fierce. Blessed are we when we dare to imagine repair and transformation. Blessed are we when we labor together to make it so.
Raise your hands, stomp your feet, clap your hands. If you've got a testimony about people in your life who are not doing well. Y'all, it is, you can't hear me. Thank you. People are not doing well. I'm holding in my heart this morning my neighbor who two weeks ago was hanging out with her friends and doing some extracurriculars that sent her into a psychotic episode. Her mother has been with her round the clock for 2 to 3 weeks, and she is at her breaking point. I'm holding in my heart this morning all of the young people who just can't even fathom making enough money to save up for emergencies or retirement. What is that? I'm holding in my heart, obviously, what's happening in Gaza, that we get to watch live streamed daily. The other thing we have to train for, friends, is dissent. D-E-S-C-E-N-T. The spiraling down, the moving towards the darkness, the mystery, the unknown. The question guiding my training on this note is, how are we getting closer to the ground? I find it, at least before this year, to remain a little bit in my enclave of people who are doing well, people who are managing, or people who are performing wellness, people who are seeming to take care of themselves, people whose parents are healthy, people whose bills are paid. There's a way that we can curate that in our lives, in our communities. Sometimes church is somewhere where we come to perform. But the training for dissent means that we invite those who are not doing well, not just into our churches on Sundays, but into our hearts, that we carry them with us. It means that we train towards a tolerance for mystery, that we spend time in nature wondering, how does this all work? How is this bird this majestic blue? How does this water keep flowing? and that we train for reflection. This is one of those years where a lot of people are asking, how are you doing? Training for dissent means that we retrain our muscle memory to say something other than, I'm good. Wow, what a lie. What a lie. Our muscle memory is strong, and we are so encouraged to be obedient in our wellness. Training for dissent means that we practice saying, I'm not well. I'm not well, but not only that, my neighbor isn't well. My mama isn't well. And that we build that muscle memory of honesty. The good thing is that people are training. Some of the most beautiful work coming out of the encampments of students around the country was the way that they were able to manifest these intelligent systems of mutual aid. I don't know if you've heard. There were libraries, there was healthcare, there were governing, there was conflict resolution, there was strategy, all in the microcosm, all in their descent into what was real instead of imagined. I applaud those students for tearing back the curtain for what universities, what we were told they were supposed to be. Places where we learn, places where we produce knowledge, where we transform, where we train to build the world that we imagine according to our values. They showed us how to live into mystery, not knowing what was next. They showed us how to reflect when they strategized their next moves. And they showed us how to care for one another. At Tulane, I watched a student weep. On day 2 of their encampment, she had called everyone she knew. There was nothing left to do but to grieve, but to wail, but to sit in the mystery of what was yet to happen. People are training. I got a text message yesterday from Reverend Deanna Vandiver, who's in New Orleans with religious educators who are training. I think the program is called Practicing the, Kathy? No? They're practicing. They're practicing something. And with Reverend Deanna, I trust her to be practicing some good work. Practicing our values, something like that. We are getting ready to train even more people for our whole lives. Thank you, Kathy. We're gathering at General Assembly to practice governing, to practice skilling up and building our toolboxes around stewardship, around our values, around worship. People are training. Have you joined them yet? See, this is the perfect part of the church year where I'm assuming people are recruiting for committees, other things. Is that over? It's not over. There's still time. Perfect. So I would encourage you, as you're thinking about what we're training for, to think about this congregation as a laboratory for liberation. To sign up for the stewardship committee, the board, to practice how we govern, to practice how we give with each other, to practice how we disagree. And if you are thinking, Sarah, I have been on these committees for 25 years. I'm sorry to say, I'm going to ask you to sign up for one more. We got an email through the UUMA, the Ministers Association, about our churches and our world changing. And one of the thickest paragraphs was about how ministers need to keep doing professional development because the skills that are needed are changing. Best practices are changing. how we govern ourselves deeper into our values are changing. So if you have been on a committee 25 years ago or for 25 years, keep practicing. Keep building that muscle memory and understand this as a place, a precious place where we get to do that, held in love and in community. So as we go forward, may we build the muscle memory for justice. May we seek out mentors, young and old, that help prepare us for what is coming. May we develop new identities that equip us for new worlds. And may we continue to train for dissent and dissent with clarity and integrity. Amen, and may it be so.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit. We do our closing hymn.
Make us aware we are a sanctuary, each made holy and love right through. With thanksgiving, we are a living sanctuary on you. We will not rest till the world is won. We will not rest till the work is done, till the world is safe and free from fear. We will not rest till the peace is here. Make us aware we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through. With thanksgiving, we are a living sanctuary on you.
Glory to you, O God of the night, for the whiteness of the moon and the infinite stretches of dark space. Let me be learning to love the night as I know and love the day. Let me be learning to trust its darkness and to seek its subtle blessings. Let me be learning the night's way of seeing, that in all things I may trace the mystery of your presence. May it be so. It's a little floppy. It's not.